Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who once called me an authoritarian, and he doesn't respect my massive bell end. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
I'm very well. I did wonder what your intro would be this week after watching the movie.
Yeah, as I say, I didn't want to do anything too harsh, and I didn't want to land you in it or anything. Although I'm sure we're going to do a good job of doing that to ourselves later on. So stay tuned, listeners. But yeah, I just thought, just sneak that in. But how are you, buddy? How's everything going? It's so strange because the last episode it was like, it's been ages since I've spoken to you, but we're actually recording this a week after the last one because of schedules and stuff. So it's logistics. Sick of the site, but no, how's things?
Things are good. Yeah, all good. I've not been up to much since I last spoke to you, just apart from upsetting my wife, but I seem to have come out on the other side of that one. But yeah, no, all is well. New car, which is
very nice.
Fine. It's not fine. The engine, it's only 2 years old and the engine light came on today, so I need to take it back tomorrow. So I plug it in and they tell me they're sure it's just a little computery thing and they'll reset it and it'll be okay. So
a little computery thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But yeah, no, things are fine. How are things with you?
Yeah, all good. Can't complain. Everything's been all right. The sun is shining finally in Amsterdam. It's going to get up to a whopping 19 degrees over the next few days, Greg.
Well, that's perfect. That's
taps
perfect.
Off. Yeah, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's been quite nice actually because last weekend we spent, it was really nice. It was only about 15, 16 degrees on the Saturday, but I spent like most of the day outside. Like went to a market and then went and sat outside a bar, a few glasses of wine and just like roaming around outside. And on a Sunday morning I got up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, fuck, I've caught a bit of the sun. Like, because I do catch the sun quite well. Oh, yeah. And I went to my improv class and one of the guys was like, fucking hell, have you been away on holiday? And I was like, no, I was just walking around yesterday. And he said, Jesus, you really got the sun. So yeah, it was, all good.
We didn't call you Jimmy Suntan in the mid-noughties for nothing, did we?
That's very true. Yes, that's very true. It's also my penchant for nipping into the sunbed shops occasionally. So that was, yes. That was perhaps one of the reasons why. But yeah, no, everything else has been good. I haven't really been up to anything else exciting, but looking forward. I mean, basically, it's living a week. So any spare time I really had was editing Wild Rose, which will be coming out tomorrow, and watching what we're going to be talking about today and making my notes. So it's been all good. And buying Tennent's water jugs online.
Yeah. It's I think strictly speaking, it's a Tennent's bar water jug, isn't it? A bar top water jug. Yeah, I think that's what you would have called it back in the day.
I had a look on that inspired me, and I had a look on Vinted, and you have no idea how much merchandise you can get. Tennent's Super. And I was tempted, honestly, mate, have a look. There's some fucking bomber jackets and stuff that are really quite cool, but I cannot bring myself to buy them because obviously the colours are red, white and blue. Yeah. So I can't wear it, but they're quite fucking smart actually, and they're cheap as well. Like it's just a blue bomber jacket, like with the Tennent's Tennent's Super under it. They're lovely.
You should you should buy one for your next holiday to Italy. I think you'd be well quoted then.
Genuinely, I saw as well a Tennent's Super napkin dispenser for €8. And I thought, do I buy that and put that on my table? And then I've always got, because whenever I'm in dinner, I keep the napkins in a drawer, put them out and stuff. And just have a little Tennent's Super napkin dispenser there. And I thought, it's maybe a bit much.
Yeah, I think you're in a pretty happy relationship. I don't think you want to do anything to jeopardise it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what else Tennent's have you bought this week? Nothing, but I've bought this wonderful McEwan's Export ice bucket, which
I've commissioned somebody to do a McEwan's Blues Brothers black and white mural on my bathroom wall.
That's not bad, actually. That's not bad at all. I did see we talk a lot about tattoos and stuff on this. I did see a post on Reddit of a guy who got a can of Iron Brew tattooed in his arm.
Right.
And on his wrist, like where the watch would be, he got a Tunnocks tea cake. And it was red and flesh coloured. And people were like, that's lovely. Obviously, a wrapped Tunnocks tea cake. And someone said, that's lovely, but obviously, sun's going to get into that, and where it is, it's really going to fade, and it's going to look like a prolapsed arsehole once it's...
Does that still happen? I think if a tattoo is done well, it doesn't do that, does it? As much?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't think so. But I find that amusing. And then someone posted a photo and said, "You're behind this legend." And it was a guy waiting for a train wearing a t-shirt, and on the back of his arm he had a big red T. And it's like
I think I've seen a few tattoos like that. We've spoken in the podcast before. Like there's, I don't think I could ever be that committed to like a food or drink that I would need to have it tattooed on my body somewhere. So I love it so much.
No.
Because I would have to get like a plate of macaroni cheese tattooed in my arm, and I'd look like a right cunt.
Yeah, that might look a little bit odd. I don't know how.
Not sure how that'll endure over the years.
Yeah, not sure. Never mind. But there you go. There's some food for thought. Okay. Right. The jokes will get better, folks. I promise. Okay. Right. Shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen first this week you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, before I get into my story, because I only got my news stories today, but I don't know why I left it to the last minute. But fortunately, there were some good ones for me to pick from. But I was reading about this the sort of case against Celtic Boys Club. Like Celtic have apparently agreed to settle like a 7-figure sum against the victims. And I was reading the timeline of the story. You know what I mean? And it goes right back like to the 70s.
Yeah.
When the alarm was first raised, and I guess because of the time and all that, nothing was really done until Adam Brazil sort of came out in 1996 and told the papers how he'd been abused. But, it feels like this guy Torbett has set up the boys club in the late 60s with the sole purpose of noncing young boys. Yeah. You know what I mean? And got away with it for fucking years. It's like shocking.
Yeah, it really is.
Appalling. But anyway, I'm going to talk about Easter eggs.
It's all right. It's still Celtic associated, I guess.
Yeah, it's still, still a little bit of religion in there. So my first story, at first I thought this might be an April Fool's story, but I was able to verify it just before we started recording, and it isn't. Thank goodness. But the headline comes from the Daily Record on the 2nd of April, which is today, the day we're recording. And the headline reads, Scots MP... Just before I read the headline, just think of everything that's going on in the UK at the moment, and you might even start to think to yourself, well, what would a priority list look like for the people that represent us, right? The headline reads, Scots MP fights to stop Easter eggs getting smaller.
Oh, God.
And getting smaller and more expensive amid shrinkflation. So this is a Scottish Labour MP, Blair McDougall. He's fighting to stop Easter eggs from getting smaller and more expensive. He wants to force companies to clearly label when they make their products smaller. He's the MP for East Renfrewshire in the Glasgow area. He's tabling the shrinkflation labelling bill in the House of Commons this week. Shrinkflation is when well-known brands reduce the weight or size of a product while keeping the price at the same or even increasing it. McDougall hit out at chocolate makers for changing from Easter eggs to smaller, flat ovids. So I've seen these. They're like sort of oval-shaped chocolate bars, I guess, would be the easiest thing to describe them as. The Labour MP told the Record, inflation might be falling, but shrinkflation is very much still with us. These companies are treating us like fools. On Easter morning, there will be a lot of scunnered families when they open their Easter eggs and discover that they're not egg-shaped anymore. This is the latest example of shrinkflation, where companies rip off consumers by making a product smaller without being honest about it with their customers. Currently, they can get away with shrinkflation because the rules aren't clear enough. If they were forced to label clearly when they shrink their products, consumers could make an informed choice to take their money elsewhere. According to an investigation by Which, Easter egg prices have risen by as much as 50% compared to last year, whereas the price of chocolate has risen by 16.5% in a year.
Wow.
This is much bigger than the 4.4% rise in the cost of supermarket food and drink. The wholesale cost of chocolate has hit record highs because of a fall in global cocoa production, which has been driven by unusually warm weather. Which said an 80-gram pouch. We'll go into ounces later. I've talked about the film. An 80-gram pouch of Terry's chocolate orange mini eggs cost 99 pence in Lidl in 2024, but now it weighs 70 grams and it costs £1.35, which is a net rise of 56%. Then with the Which investigation found that a Twix white chocolate Easter egg at Tesco had increased from £5 to £6 from last year, but it had also shrunk from 316 grams to 258. That's a rise of 47% in terms of price per 100 grams. And a 5-pack of mixed 200-gram Cadbury cream eggs sold at Morrison's increased from £2.62 to £4.
Wow.
And Nestle Kit Kat Chunky Milk has definitely done their homework here. A Nestle Kit Kat Chunky Milk Chocolate Easter egg stayed at the same price at the supermarket, but was reduced from 129 grams to 110, making it 17% more expensive per 100 grams. McDougall said when a product becomes smaller, you get less for your money. Well, duh. But it's not clearly labelled, and there's a lack of transparency to it. They're not breaking any rules by doing that, and that for me is the problem. We should have clearer rules on labelling when a product gets smaller so that you know what you're getting for your money. I'm introducing into Parliament a bill on shrinkflation labelling to try and tackle that and make clearer what the rules are. So what do you think, Nikki? Do you think that these companies are treating us like fools?
I just feel like a fool, an absolute fool. I'm being taken for a mug here. Yeah, I mean, of course, it is kind of true in terms that, yes, things have gotten smaller. Of course, prices have gone up. It's the same with anything. But this is just the age-old... I mean, it is true, though, that we always say, like, have Mars bars gotten smaller? Yeah, they have. And it's the age thing of, like, no, it's just your hands have gotten bigger.
Well, that's what I've always thought. I've always thought that, because people have always been like, oh, like, Snickers or marathons as well used to be a lot bigger. And I'm like, yeah, but my hands were a lot smaller back in those days. Yeah, surely it's just that.
I think they have gotten smaller, though, if you actually compare the size. And
I'm sure they probably have.
Yeah, definitely has. And I think a lot of it is due to... Because you're not allowed... They don't sell, like, the king-size ones anymore, do they? Because it was not something about obesity or sugar tax, maybe, or...
They do in Dubai. You can still get a king-size Twix in Dubai.
Okay.
And you can still get king-size Snickers and Mars bars because, you know... Because, like, I guess in Dubai, they feel that people should be able to make their own decisions if they want to eat themselves into type B diabetes. Whereas when you've got, like, a private medical service and you don't have a government subsidised medical service, then, you know, the more people get in type 2 diabetes, the better, because it's just good for the economy, right? Yeah. Whereas in the UK, when the majority of people use the NHS, you know, they have to try and save people from their own gluttony and keep them out of hospital and the doctors.
Yeah, there's a couple of articles basically saying, yeah, I think in the UK, yeah, there's one from the BBC News, the king-size Mars bar has been dethroned. It's
dethroned?
leaner. now. Yeah, it's basically saying it's leaner. It's succumbed to health experts, and it's gone leaner and smaller now. So yeah, I don't know. I think this councillor is probably overreacting just a little bit in terms of the being taken for a ride. But it is true, though. I guess that things have gotten smaller and you're getting ripped off. But I don't think kids are going to be upset and be saying, "Oh, my egg's smaller than it was last year," are they? They're just going to be happy they've got chocolate. And have you noticed, because you are partial to smashing a bag of mini eggs, have you noticed that the mini eggs are getting smaller? Or
well, not really. Like, mini eggs don't seem any different to me. Cream eggs seem smaller, but again, I've always just put that down to the fact that my hands are bigger. I do like a cream egg. I do like mini eggs, although I haven't been quite as greedy with my mini egg consumption this Easter season as I have been in the past. In fact, I've not had any for weeks. It's really, talking about it's really put me in the mood for a bag of mini eggs. But have you ever heard of an MP being voted in because of his strong stance on confectionery shrinkflation? You know what I mean?
No, I've never heard of that, but I can imagine for some people that might be an important matter. And, you know, they're not worried about inflation or immigration or any of that. But
knife crime, food poverty, homelessness.
Nothing about that. It's all about the size of confectionery and shrinkage. I mean, shrinkage is something that is obviously a concern to a lot of males, but not when it comes to confectionery items. No, I don't think so.
Like, you know, I mean, I know, like in the UK, like what we would call fizzy juice, what perhaps our American cousins would call soda, what our English ones would call pop, in the UK has become more expensive because of sugar taxes. That's why Iron Brew changed their recipe, right? Because they substituted sugar for a sort of sweetener, but then introduced the 1912 recipe flavour, the bottle I got you, 19 something, right?
So 1901.
1901, yeah, maybe that's it, yeah. You know, which is a bit more expensive, obviously, because it's the traditional recipe, which presumably has more sugar in it than the current one.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's the same with all these things. You know, it's, I guess, you know, the government feels that they have to tax these indulgences that aren't very good for you, because if they're too cheap, people will consume them and get sick and have to have fucking limbs amputated or heart transplants, or I guess same with alcohol and fags. Cigarettes, and I don't know how much, I don't smoke anymore, but I don't know how much 20 Marlboro Lights are in Amsterdam, but I think in Scotland, or the UK rather, I don't think you're getting much change out of 20 quid now.
Yeah, I haven't bought a pack of cigarettes in a very long time. I think they're about $12.50 now here.
Right, okay.
Which still a bit cheaper than the UK, but still, I wouldn't be paying €12.50 for a packet of cigarettes. No way.
No, especially if you're smoking 20 a day.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at, 150 quid a week, more, maybe 200 quid a week. €2 a week, rather. Yeah, too much money. So good luck to Blair. Let's see. I don't think Starmer's got anything to worry about in terms of having his leadership challenged from the MP from East Wren, but let's see if he gets his shrinkflation bill across the floor in the House of Commons. So that's my first story on this episode. What's your story this week? Your first story?
My first story is from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and it's also about a councillor. The headline is Sleeve Flack. An SNP councillor was branded Rabsy Nesbitt after he appeared to wear a vest to a council meeting. Drew Miller, 74, dialed into the licensing board hearing with a sleeveless white top on. Viewers watching the live stream were stunned by his get-up and compared him to the outspoken comedy character. One spectator said, "Given the date, I thought it was an April Fool at first. Is there no dress code for this sort of thing? The last thing you'd expect to see at an official council meeting. Everyone else seemed to have made a bit of an effort and put on a shirt and tie, even if they were at home. But at least he was comfortable." Drew appeared on screen for the Highland Council meeting with a landscape of sky as his background. At one point he seemed to be stretching and stuck his arms up in the air as he listened to the other contributors. He never mentioned his unusual attire and didn't think about where he was dialing in from during the session. No one else raised the issue either. At one point he weighed in on an application for an Aldi store. He said, "I wish Aldi would come and open a supermarket on Skye." But Councillor Miller denied he was wearing a vest and claimed it was a t-shirt. He said he went for the casual option because he's away on holiday, but he still wanted to be involved. Councillor Miller said, "I was wearing a t-shirt. I'm in Turkey on my holidays. I was on my balcony while attending the committee, as I don't like to miss committee meetings. So sorry, I'm no Rabsy Nesbitt, as I don't own a vest." And there's a picture of Councillor Drew Miller on the call. He's clearly wearing a vest. Like, clearly wearing a vest. Unless his t-shirt has flesh-coloured arms and make it look like a vest. He's definitely wearing a white vest. Drew represents Skye and Rassay for the SNP. He was a Lib Dem councillor in the area for 25 years before he was caught up in a race row and accused of sharing anti-Islamic material. He resigned from the party before a probe concluded and lost his seat in 2017. At the time, he told the BBC that he didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He later joined the SNP and was elected into the seat. So there you go. He wore a vest to his council meeting. I'm sorry, Drew, you're 100% wearing a vest in this. It's not a string vest, but it's still just a standard white vest that he's wearing. Ever worn anything inappropriate to a meeting, Greg, or turned up in a vest?
Not in camera, like I've maybe during lockdown, I wouldn't put like a shirt and tie on if I was in a Teams call, but I would maybe put like a smart polo top on. But if the camera tilted down, could just be sitting there in my boxers potentially.
Could be.
Or total commando. I sort of respect him a bit because he's on his holidays, but he's committed. Yeah. He's logged in on the call.
Exactly.
Didn't switch his camera on.
Exactly. He's turned up. He's on the call. He's taking part in the council meeting. He's chipping in. I wish Aldi would open in Skye. And yeah, he's just taking part. He's on his holidays on the balcony. But yeah, he's definitely wearing a vest. But I agree. Camera maybe should have been off. There's a lot worse things have been done on a Teams or Zoom call over the last few years that have made the papers and stuff. Yes. So I think give Drew a break. It's just a council meeting. It's nothing that serious, really.
Yeah. Well, good for him. I'm glad that he is committed to his do councillors have constituencies? I would say they do.
Yeah, I guess he does. And I've no idea what his opinions are on Easter eggs, though, but given his previous sharing of anti-Islamic material, I'm sure he's all for Easter.
I'm sure he feels quite strongly about them.
Yeah, I think he probably does. So yes, but we'll see. I don't know if he'll be campaigning to see if an Aldi opens up in Skye and what they'll be pricing their Easter eggs at. But there we go. That's Drew in his vest.
I'm sure they'll be competitively priced, the final Aldi.
I'm sure they will.
With a cheeky bit of branding on there as well.
I'm sure, yes, they definitely will be, and have something, that flirts with copyright law, but just gets away with it. I'm positive they will. Okay, what else have you seen this week?
Well, as I mentioned, I thought my last story might have been a April Fool's. Luckily it wasn't. But I do have a list that was in the Daily Record yesterday of Scotland's best April Fool's Day hoaxes over the years.
Great.
So from fake footballers to miracle plants, Scots have fallen victim to plenty of convincing pranks on April the 1st. So Tuesday marked April Fool's Day, which is easily the silliest holiday of the year. Not a holiday, just a day. Every year on April the 1st, people all over the world partake in silly pranks with the aim of tricking or deceiving others. Most of the time, the hoaxes are all in good fun. Sometimes, though, the pranks are so convincing that hundreds, if not thousands of people are convinced that they are real. Scotland is certainly no stranger to this phenomena, and over the years there have been plenty of April Fool's Day hoaxes that have fooled many Scots. Experts at the Museum of Hoaxes
That's a great place. I'd love to go there.
Say that again. The Museum of Hoaxes have compiled a list of some of the most notable Scottish April Fool's Day pranks that have taken place going all the way back to 1972. From supposedly magic plants to the Loch Ness crocodile, it is easy to see why they have all become so notorious. So number 1, the body of Nessie found in 1972. Newspapers across the globe reported that the dead body of the Loch Ness monster had been discovered. According to the reports, staff at Yorkshire's Flamingo Park Zoo crew who had been investigating Loch Ness for evidence of Ness's existence found the body of the legendary beast floating in the water. Initial reports revealed that the carcass weighed 1.5 tons and measured 15.5 feet in length. The experts reportedly loaded it into a van and attempted to transport it back to Flamingo Park Zoo, though were stopped by local police who cited a 1933 Act of Parliament that prohibited the removal of unidentified creatures from Loch Ness. The police then took the supposed body of Nessie to Dunfermline for further examination. It quickly became clear that it was not the Loch Ness monster, but a bull elephant seal from the South Atlantic. Another one is I hope they're not all Nessie based, these. The other one, Loch Ness Footprints, 1992. Scots in 1992 were shocked when naturalist David Bellamy stated that he had discovered gigantic footprints along the shore of Loch Ness. According to him, it was proof that the iconic monster was a dinosaur. It wasn't long before the announcement spread like wildfire, even appearing on the front page of the Daily Record. Unfortunately, the whole thing was a marketing gimmick to promote a new chocolate biscuit called Dinosaurs. The major Scottish April Fool's Day hoax of 1995 occurred when the Glasgow Herald reported on a supposed energy-saving miracle, heat-generating plants. This is very good. The plants, which had the scientific name of Solar Complexus Americanus, were said to have been imported from Venezuela. According to reports, one plant alone could output as much heat as a 2 kilowatt electric fire. It was even said that placing the plants around the house could eliminate the need for a central heating system. The Scandinavian botanist responsible for discovering these hot air producers was Olaf Lipro, which, if you rearrange the letters of his name, of course, you get April Fool. In 2003, then manager of Rangers Football Club Alex McLeish revealed that he signed 17-year-old Turkish player Yardis Apolfo in a £5 million deal. While many newspapers reported the signing as a fact, it was all fake, and of course the name Yardis Apolfo is an anagram of April Fool's Day. That same year, the Inverness Courier reported in opposition to supposed plans to construct a 6-foot fence around sections of Loch Ness. The purpose of the fence was said to be to protect locals from the Loch Ness monster. The report stated the provost condemned proposed European health and safety legislation that requires the separation of wild animals from humans. Nessie is not a wild animal and has never bitten or attacked anyone, he declared. Many people enjoy the Loch Ness area and the authorities should include a suitable gate to allow access to the loch. I am prepared to use the loch at my own risk. Ella McRae, the landlord at the Doris Inn, agreed with the provost and said she would provide a stock of disclaimer forms at the inn. And then the final Scottish major Scottish April Fool's Day hoax occurred in 2007 when a news article claiming that a crocodile had been spotted in Loch Ness began circulating online. According to the article, the creature was seen wading in the water near the Lip O'Flora viewpoint. The report stated that the reptile was believed to be from southern Florida and drifted along the path of the Atlantic Gulf Stream. It also suggested that the croc might have been a pet of an irresponsible Scot who released it into the loch after being able to look after the animal. A really good April Fool's Day prank that I remember my Papa showed me it when I was quite young, was in probably the Record, because that was the paper he got, and they ran a story claiming that tenants were making lager flavoured crisps. Now, at the time, obviously, that's ridiculous. But lager flavoured crisps in 2025 are not a big leap of imagination, because you get all kinds of wild flavoured crisps, like squirrel flavour and all sorts of mad stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I could definitely see that becoming a thing. Yeah. Wow. I don't remember that. My favourite one must have been 2002. I remember, because I remember exactly where I was when I read it. I was in the library at uni, and it was in the Scottish Sun. And it took me a while to twig that it was April Fool's Day. I didn't realise. And it was the front page, and it was a confession from the Proclaimers, Charlie and Craig, saying that they weren't twins. And in fact, they weren't actually brothers. They weren't related at all. And it had just been a gimmick they've been doing for the last 20 odd years. I remember reading this going, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, fucking hell, the Proclaimers aren't even brothers. Before I twigged, oh fuck, it's April the 1st. I was like, I did, there was always some good ones that are around. I did, I think the Sun yesterday went with Nicola Sturgeon was deciding to relaunch herself, and she was a pop career. She was going to and she recorded her debut album, and it was going to come out later this year. And then once you read the article properly, it was like, yeah, she thinks she could rival Taylor Swift. Okay. See this as a joke then, is it?
I did see there was a suggestion that she might be trying to get a comedy career going, because she did a sort of in conversation two-header with Jenny Godley's daughter, Ashley Storey. And obviously, Jenny Godley was really successful at doing those sort of lockdown voiceovers over Nicola Sturgeon, which Sturgeon apparently took in the humour that it was intended to be done in, you know what I mean? The suggestion that she might be trying to embark on a comedy career, but I can't see that.
Well, I'd say she just needs to get a little schoolboy uniform, a wee red hat,
a curly-haired partner,
and off she goes.
Who looks a wee bit like Fred West,
and she's sorted with the Crankies revival. I think, it'd be perfect. It's crying out for some light entertainment at the moment.
She could star in perhaps a sort of play about the Crankies' life and times. So it'd just be interesting to see how they tackle the swinging.
I think that would have to be an adults-only play, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, only adults are going to go and see it, let's be honest.
That's true, actually. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the Crankies. I thought about them for, probably a week. It's been
only a week.
Oh, they're often on my mind, the Crankies.
Yeah, me too. I was going through my records the other day and came across my Christmas present, so it's not been as long as that since I thought about them.
Have you played that yet?
I played it before Christmas.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I don't think I'll play it again.
It's more for the novelty value there. Oh, well, yeah. Some good old April Fools in Scotland. Wonderful.
Yeah, good. Well, there we go. So that's my second and final story this week. So I'm eager to get on to our film. So what's your next story this week?
My second story is from Edinburgh Live this week, Greg. And I know we speak about food a lot, but I like this kind of thing. And it's an American tourist in Edinburgh who sparked fierce debate over Scottish delicacies. An American tourist in Edinburgh set out to sample some Scottish cuisine, but locals had strong opinions. Kalani, a paranormal investigator and food influencer, that's a hell of a double act, isn't it? Yeah. Was in the capital checking out the ghost tours and restaurants. He stopped off at Landy's on Northbridge and gave a couple of delicacies a whirl. He tried a Scotch egg, a pizza crunch, and a battered Mars bar. His followers in Edinburgh were quick to comment, confident that his choices weren't common choices for us Scots, and that they didn't know anyone who ate like that. Kalani said, "We're here in Edinburgh on the Royal Mile to try out a new fish and chip shop, Landy's. So we ordered a few different things today. A black pudding Scotch egg, that sounds fucking lovely. A battered haddock, a pizza crunch, and a deep-fried Mars bar. This is going to be a very Scottish review." He samples the Scotch egg first, which Kalani seems to be a fan of. He added, "If you like black pudding, you're going to love this." I would think so, Kalani. He then goes in for the pizza crunch. He says, "This looks a lot better than my first attempt at a pizza crunch. It's pretty good. Would I order one of these normally? Probably not. It's a lot. Pizza, fried. I can see the appeal if you were drunk. It would sober you up." He's then served the fish supper and gives some chippy sauce a go. Kalani adds, "We're going to use something that only use here in Edinburgh. It's like a variation of HP, but it's more vinegary. Chip sauce is pretty good, actually." Kalani even goes on to sample a battered Mars bar, which he brands very sweet. After posting the clip on TikTok, his Scottish followers had some thoughts. One commented, "I'm Scottish, and I don't know any Scottish person that eats pizza crunch or a fried Mars bar." A second added, "I'm Scottish. I've lived in Edinburgh all my life, and I've never had a deep-fried Mars bar. It's just not common for us Scots." A third posted, "I don't know anyone that eats pizza crunch. I think it's a tourist thing." And a fourth said, "I speak for all Scots when I say we don't eat deep-fried Mars bars or deep-fried pizza." However, not everyone was in agreement. One response reads, "You can't really speak for all Scots. I know plenty who loves these things. me included. Whilst a final person added, we don't fry everything. I'd say this is a drunk delicacy. Nobody'd eat a pizza crunch sober. Have you ever had a pizza crunch, Greg?
No. I mean, I've seen it. Like, people do buy it in Scotland because they're often in the kind of hot window in the chippy. So they wouldn't put them in there unless people were buying them. You know what I mean? But it's not for me.
I love pizza. But I couldn't have a fucking deep-fried pizza. That just is horrific. Yeah. And obviously, we've discussed, I've never had a deep-fried Mars bar. Although I did watch a video, I think it was on Instagram, of like 2 Edinburgh tour guides, effectively. And they were laughing and saying how they'd never had a deep-fried Mars bar before.
Right.
So they went and had one and ate it. And they were like, holy shit, this is delicious. This is really good. But yeah, I'd never had that. But a black pudding Scotch egg, that sounds fucking lovely.
I mean, I've tried deep fried ice cream, and it's really nice. Deep fried ice cream is lovely.
Yeah,
but I've never had a deep fried Mars bar. I can imagine if it's done properly, it's probably quite nice. You know?
But do you believe the debate that most Scottish people don't eat that kind of thing? I mean, I would say so.
I would say so. I mean, most Scottish people probably don't. You know what I mean? But some will, I'm sure.
What's your what's your go-to order? Oh, you like a roll and chips, don't you?
Well, yeah, the last couple of years, I do like a roll and chips from the Blue Lagoon with salt and vinegar. But if I was having like a meal from the chippy, I'd probably go for a sausage supper. That's not just because I find the fish supper a bit too much these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although I would split a fish supper with somebody. I split a fish supper with you.
Oh, thanks. It's very kind of you.
I wouldn't be able to eat like a whole fish. It's too much.
Yeah, I don't know what. It's been a long time since I guess the last time, I had a fish supper. And I mean, prior to that, it was always a smoked sausage supper or a mince pie supper I would have, but
or a haggis supper sometimes.
Yeah, I'd be partial to a haggis supper. Obviously, I can't have any of those things now, so I guess it would be a fish supper I would have. Or
I mean, in Glasgow, if we had a pie supper, it would probably be like a mutton pie supper.
Yeah,
which I do like, but you got to be careful because, like, if it's a good quality mutton pie, then it's good. But quite often they're not. It'll be the cheapest one. You know what I mean? It'll be like shitty backstreet bakery, and it just gets like chucked in the fryer. I really fancy it. It's been so long since I had a good chippy, like apart from that roll and chips that I had in Glasgow last summer. That was the last time.
Yeah. Really talking about that has made me really hungry now.
I really needed it as well. So I think we were like 4 or 5 pints of Tennent's in and no lunch. So I really needed a bit. I really needed it in me.
Yeah, it was a saviour. It definitely was. Yeah, I really fancy fucking chippy chips now. Oh, never mind. What to do. But anyway, yes, that is our paranormal investigator who has sampled some Scottish delicacies that Scots don't really eat. Okay, well, I guess that wraps up the news. I think we're both desperate to get on to what we're going to be talking about today. So let's have a little word from our sponsors.
So, on the last episode, we covered Wild Rose, which by the time you hear this will have been available for about 2 weeks. And it was my choice, which means that the bottle spins back around to you. Why don't you introduce this week's movie?
Thanks, Greg. Well, I wanted to keep a musical theme going, which I know you were a little bit scared of when I mentioned musical, keeping it going. And I wanted to keep a kind of era in a way. So we've just moved from 2018 to 2019 with today's film. However, it's not set in 2019. Starring Cristian Ortega, Lorn Macdonald, Laura Fraser, and Brian Ferguson, we are talking about the 2019 film Beats. Directed by Brian Welsh, the film is set in the summer of 1994. Johnno and Spanner are best mates, but Johnno's family are moving to a new town for a better life, leaving Spanner behind. In pursuit of adventure and escape, they head out on one last night to an illegal rave to have a night to remember. Part coming-of-age drama, part love story, part political commentary. You're unsure if you'd seen this before when we spoke on the last episode, Greg. Had you actually seen Beats before?
So, I feel like I've seen films which tell a very similar story before. Yeah. However, I hadn't seen Beats before. No, this is the first time I'd seen it. Do you know what? I really enjoyed it. It was good fun. I don't think there's necessarily anything all that original in there, but, sort of similarly to Wild Rose, nothing that similar in there, but the cast and the direction and everything made it enjoyable and made a lot of it original. And I sort of felt the same way about Beats as well. I thought it was really good fun. I thought they did a really good job of sort of capturing the era. It brought back a few memories and stuff. Not always good ones. But really, really good. It was really good fun to watch. How about, had you seen it before?
No, I hadn't seen it before. It was one of those things, I was aware of it. And I think I have to admit, I was probably put off watching it a little bit because I thought it was going to be quite rave and dance music heavy. Yeah. And I don't know why that maybe put me off because it's not really my thing. However, it is, but it's not that way. And then, of course, I've been putting it off for the last couple of years, as I do with a lot of Scottish stuff, because I think, we'll do that on the pod one day. I'll save it for then. I'll watch it so I'm fresh. But here we are. But yeah, I didn't expect this film to be so fucking funny and so engrossing, but also so tender and fresh. Part of me is kicking myself for not watching it sooner, but I'm glad I did, and I'm really glad I get to discuss this with you. I really enjoyed the film. It had me engaged so much, and it's great because it's only just over an hour and a half long, which is perfect for us. But I always think it's always a good sign when you're starting a film and you see it's a co-production of the BBC and the BFI. And you think, all right, that's a mark of quality, usually. Mm-hmm. You're in for a good time when you're watching this. And I was just so engrossed. I absolutely loved it. And I can't take credit for this. I did read this online when someone said it's basically like a Scottish Footloose in terms of, because they're obviously banning rave culture. And
but it's sort of set in fact, the Criminal Justice Bill, which before it became the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act, it was very sort of controversial. Mm-hmm. And what I liked about the script is it's very honest about the fact that by the time the act came into effect, the sort of heyday of these open air illegal sort of gatherings and raves, it was kind of coming to a bit of a natural end anyway, because I think you started to get these kind of super clubs, like in Aberdeen we had Amadeus, although I don't think Amadeus ever hosted a big out and out sort of dance night, and you had, there was a few in Glasgow, and in the famous one in Ayr and all that kind of thing. So it was sort of becoming a bit kind of corporate, and the more free-spirited DJ sound system in a field in the middle of nowhere. It was all sort of coming to an end. And there's times when the characters mention that, that scene's fucking finished now anyway. And even Johnno and Spanner sort of, although it's especially for Spanner, it's this is a dream come true that he's got to do this, but he, in that moment in the car before they go into the warehouse for the rave, he's it's fucking scene's finished anyway. You know what I mean? So I think it's a really sort of honest film in a lot of ways. It doesn't. I think if there's any sort of indulgence in it, I think it's this sort of, and we do it. I think guys especially do it when they sort of mythicize nights out. You know what I mean? And this legendary night that we had, and this and that. And I think if the film has got any faults, there's maybe a wee shade of that in there. It's a bit indulgent in that sense, sort of mythicizing this amazing scene. Whereas, probably in reality, it was probably quite unpleasant. you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, watching it, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't fancy being there, but that's me, you know, as a mid-40s, you know, looking back, like, no. Whereas probably if I'd been, well, I don't know, I mean, around about that time, I was 13. You were the perfect age, because you would have been the same age as like Johnno and Spanner, because I guess they're about 15, 16, and, you know, dance music never really interested me at that age. I was listening to Pearl Jam 10 and Nevermind around about this time. So
me too.
So yeah, I would have had no interest. I know there were people I went to school with that went to raves and stuff, but I just no interest in anything like that. And
no, I remember like when I was a lot younger, and I guess this sort of dance music and house music was becoming a wee bit more commercialized, and you started to hear it in the charts, like bands like The Prodigy and Alternate, and I suppose electronic to some extent, and the Orb and things, and
Too Unlimited.
Maybe just before Too Unlimited. But some of these guys started to get music in the charts, and like I was always a big top 40 guy. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, like I would if I couldn't sit in my room and listen to the top 40, then I was definitely taping it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could listen to it later, and you know, and I did like some of that stuff, but I think part of the reason that I liked it was popular, you know what I mean? And people were talking about it. People were wearing like dready t-shirts and, you know, like Smarties, hoodies and stuff when we go to school discos and all that kind of thing. And it was like, well, you know, it's this sort of subculture that's really cool and all the cool kids are into it. And I probably thought, right, I need to get into this and like it. So like songs like The Bouncer and all that kind of thing, and early Prodigy stuff like Charlie and whatnot. And then as I got a bit older, I kind of went back to bands, because that's what I'd always liked before. You know what I mean? Like I was always been a band guy. And I kind of went back to that, and I really sort of I went through like a long period of really turning my nose up at dance music, and it probably wasn't until maybe like the early 2000s when you and I started going out together, not going out together like boyfriends, but going out in the town together, and getting into like a bit of a scene, which I'm sure we'll discuss in a little bit of detail shortly. And now, I would say now in 2025, I can appreciate like a good like dance track, you know, like I don't dislike it in the way that I used to. I mean, I don't really like techno, but I like house music, and I did like some of the music on this. You know, there was some tunes in this that I really liked. So, but yeah, like I've always had a bit of I know like our mutual friend is, I think it's pretty much 80% of what he listens to is dance and techno music, 10% The Smiths, 10% ABBA, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yep. That's about right.
What an unusual person he is.
Yeah, I say I've never really been in. I mean, yes, latterly with you, we would go out and it was dance music. I was explaining this because I watched this with my girlfriend, and I was trying to explain that I was never into dance music, apart from a certain period where I went out with you. And yeah, we'll come on and talk about that later. I do remember I did have, and I've just looked it up. I found it. I did have a tape, and it came out in 1993, and it was 100% Dance Volume 2. So I was into a little bit of dance music, and its genre is house or dub or Euro house. Now, this was 93, so came out like a year before this film's set. I'm not sure this was really 100% dance, because just some of the songs that were on this were Mr. Vane by Culture Beat, All That She Wants by Ace of Base, Boom Shake the Room by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Mr. Wendell by Arrested Development.
Good song,
I'm not sure.
Fucking,
it is. But is it on 100% dance? The Key, The Secret by Urban Cookie Collective, and Too Funky by George Michael.
There's three words that I've not heard in perhaps 30 plus years are the words Urban Cookie Collective.
Oh, there you go. I'm glad. Bring them back.
I think I've just coined a new term that refers to you and describes you perfectly. You are a digital hoarder.
Okay.
Is that true?
Yeah, I would say I am, yeah.
Yeah, you are. You've still got a tape. You've still got a tape that you digitally saved on your computer.
Oh no! I remembered the tape.
Oh.
I Googled 100% Dance Volume 2 and I recognised the cover. No, I don't still have that, but yes, I am a digital hoarder. Like I only in November this year got Spotify because I like having all my music on my phone. Because I'm like that. And I remember saying that to someone last year and they were like, does anyone do that anymore? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I like to have it. And I got added to a Spotify account. I have access to Spotify. I still listen to most of the music off my phone. So yeah, I need to get more into Spotify. But yes, I am a digital hoarder. I still have hard drives full of films and TV shows. I don't know why, because obviously I never use it because I can just go on and use Just Watch on my phone and find out where it's streaming and I find it rather than dig out a hard drive and get a shitty copy of something that I downloaded 15 years ago. But hey, it came in handy a couple of times for stuff on the Swally. So
yeah, certainly has.
But I've had stuff hoarded.
IPTV have got a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week rolling Auf Wiedersehen pet channel. Now,
I did not. Oh, you fucking beauty. I mean, I say that, it's only about 14 months ago that I did watch every episode back to back over the course of a couple of, probably about 3 weeks. But I will happily, that will be my new background channel that I'll be sticking on whilst I'm doing something fantastic. So yeah, never really into dance music, but there was very much a scene, and I agree with you that, yeah, it's commented on a few times in this film that it is kind of the end, and it's a dying thing. And I think it's really great that they did bring that to the forefront and of course of the time. So as we're saying, that of course this is intertwined around the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 94, the outlaw of gatherings around music wholly or predominantly characterised by the omission of a succession of repetitive beats. That act also legalized anal sex between man and wife. That was illegal up until that point. So
so it wasn't all bad news then.
No. So yeah, that was legal after that act. But yeah, it's this big thing coming in, and it's almost that there's a rebellion and people are rebelling against. And I did like that this is communicated through the film in terms of like radio announcements and news footage, predominantly of Tony Blair trying to usher in new Labour. And it's kind of interwoven, but it's never really mentioned or spoken about. It's which I think works the film's advantage. Like it's almost like it's giving the film a documentary element in a way. Yeah. But no one really comments or, look at that prick on the TV or, or he's going to usher us into a new era or anything like that. It's not mentioned. It's just there quite a few times, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, I think they do a really good job of sort of recreating the era. Because I don't know. I was thinking to myself, because I used to work in Livingston, and I think it's sort of set in Livingston. Although they refer to, they only ever say West Lothian. I don't think they actually say the word Livingston. And I was thinking, well, I don't really remember anywhere looking like that in Livingston because it's quite a new town, and it actually looked to me a bit more like the sort of not as nice parts of Cumbernauld.
I did. I saw something. There's a bar in Edinburgh that is just launched, and they have like a Fallout themed, like it's a Fallout themed pub, not the game, but like almost like it's themed as if what would happen if there was a nuclear fallout,
a Holocaust
kind of
pub.
Not Holocaust, but like a kind of that kind of end of days type pub. And the first comment says, "If you wanted that, just go to Cumbernauld." And I thought it was quite. Sorry, no offence. But yeah, you're right. It does. No, I know. It does kind of set that tone really well. I think you're right, and I guess the black and white element brings into that as well, making it kind of a bit more gritty in terms of things. But you're right, in terms of the 94 setting, there was a lot that was really cool in terms of the cars and the tape decks, the little radios, and the one that really got me was like all the police uniforms that. just seemed of when they're getting all their riot gear on, and you're like, fuck, that was all they had, just like a shield and a baton. It's not, and a helmet. There was no stab-proof vests or protective armor or anything, or telescopic batons. It was just your truncheon, and that was it.
I'm not sure though that the police, because they're not wearing the sort of breast-shaped helmets that are more in some scenes. I don't know if they ever wore them in Scotland. I thought they were only like the English police that wore them. Maybe
I'm not sure.
I mean, that's be facetious to me to pick a hole in a detail like that anyway, when such care and attention has been taken to recreate the era. And I suppose, like you say, making it black and white it makes it a little bit easier to do that as well. Laura Fraser is probably the most famous actor in this. I was thinking to myself, what was the last thing we did with Laura Fraser in it?
Probably Crime. Series 2, probably, maybe. In fact, I can tell you right now, Greg, because I updated the Swally tally just earlier today. Let me just find it. I think it was possibly Crime that we did.
Crime Series 2.
Let me check. Laura Fraser, the last thing that we covered with her in, it was quite a while ago, was The Flying Scotsman.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. We did that. Flying Scotsman. And then prior to that, it was indeed Crime Series 2.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about, this is, although you mentioned the production companies earlier on, it's I would say probably quite a low budget film. And the fact that this is, for her, this is after Breaking Bad, and she's come back to do this again. I don't know if the fact that Steven Soderbergh is executive producer has probably been a draw as well. But, that she's not, the only thing with Laura Fraser in this is she's sort of ever young. I don't know why. Maybe because of the thing. I've sort of grown up to an extent watching her on the TV. I thought at first, I don't know why, that she was Johnno's big sister. Don't ask me why I thought this. And, it's not until Robert, his, stepfather, makes the little toast and he storms off in a huff and she comes up to bollock him that I really realised that she's supposed to be his mum. But that being said, I do think that Cristian Ortega, who plays Johnno, and Laura Fraser, there's enough of that sort of dark resemblance. They're both quite dark with the dark hair and sort of countenance and stuff that sort of buy them as mother and son.
Yeah, you do. Speak about it in terms of budget. I don't know if it's true, but on Wikipedia, it does say that the budget for this was only £25,000, which I find very difficult to believe. I think it has to be more than that, surely. Yeah. The music budget alone must have been a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Laura Fraser is just, I love Laura Fraser. I always have. I always will. She's just wonderful. And I think she's such a great actress as well. And I know what you mean. She does seem, like ever young. It is almost like, she should be like his big sister or something. But no, she would be the right age, to be his mum. And of course, there's a really good relationship she has with him, I think. And she has got some cracking lines. Obviously, the scene in terms of the calling Spanner scum when he's hiding in the wardrobe. And that's just hilarious, that part, when she opens the wardrobe and he's stood there and goes, ding dong. And you really buy at the end of the film, to skip ahead, when Spanner comes round for Johnno and she shuts the door and then she opens it and she's like, okay, he's upstairs. And she just flips out. She goes, take your fucking shoes off. And it's wonderful. And when she picks Johnno up from the police station, the first thing she does, obviously, slow-mo outside, she's battering him round the head. But then gets home and she's concerned. And she's like, did the police do this? And, you find out what happens later on. She obviously, her son, family comes first in terms of that.
Yeah, and there Robert gets his jotters.
Anything with Laura Fraser just seems to elevate whatever she's in, and it just makes, not that this needs elevating, because the rest of the cast are fantastic as well, but she brings a calm to everything, I feel, Laura Fraser, like a nice calm, but authentic as well. She's just, she's wonderful.
Well, I think that's why I liked her so much in crime, because in the first series of Crime, she is that oasis of sort of calm for Lennox. You know, she when he's off the rails a lot of the time, she's counselling him and everything else. And then, spoilers, if you've not seen the second series of Crime, we have covered it in the pod already, but in the second series, she identified as being one of the villains of the story. And you know what I mean? Like she sort of turns from that, because if you haven't read the book that the second series of Crime is based on, The Long Knives, you'd never see that coming with her performance.
No.
You know what I mean? But then when you go back and watch it again, because obviously I watched it when it came out, then I watched it again for the recording of the pod, there are these little sort of tells in her performance that are really, really subtle. You know what I mean? That you only really get when you know the twist, I suppose, and you go back and rewatch. You know, it's really... really masterful, really.
Plays a great role, say, as Alison, Johnno's mother. I guess Cristian Ortega as Johnno. Another great performance, not someone I'm familiar with. Same as Lorn Macdonald as Spanner. I'm not really familiar with either of them, but both deliver just an incredible... Cristian Ortega just does this wonderful kind of deer in the headlights look throughout most of the film. It's almost like he's just watching everything going around by him and kind of meandering through, but it's just this almost innocent kind of look that he has. And I can see why maybe his mum and Robert think he is being led astray by Spanner. And there is, you know, it is mentioned at one point of the film that Spanner's saved him a couple of times at school, probably from getting a kicking and, you know, being bullied, and that's maybe why he's hanging around with him. But he's not completely innocent, but he does have this innocence about him, but obviously something a bit dark about him as well, because he's you know, taking his tap off and punching himself in the mirror and shouting at himself. So there's obviously something not right there. Kind of has the, you know, his parents are presumed divorced, because we don't really hear about his dad. Has that affected him, or has something happened? But he does deliver this wonderful performance of this kind of, like I say, the best way is like a rabbit in the headlights kind of look. Yeah,
he looks a wee bit to me like a young Johnny Lee Miller around the face. Not all the time, but in certain scenes. You know, you sort of get the impression that he's sort of typical frustrated sort of teenage boy, sort of torn between, you know, wanting to be a good kid, I suppose, and do the right things and go to work and get on at school and stuff, but also he's got his best friend occasionally leads him astray, and, you know, and a lot of the time he likes being led astray, you know what I mean? He wants to rebel. And I thought was that scene when he's hitting himself, like I kind of get the feeling that he wants to be more assertive, you know, he wants to sort of speak up and stand up for himself, but he's, you know, he struggles to do that, you know, and wishes he could.
I think he wants to do the right thing as well. When Spanner steals his brother's money, he's very frightened and he's like, no, you need to put that back.
Yeah.
Spanner says, look, we're going to spend this. We're going to party. And Johnny says, I'm grounded. Spanner's reaction, like, are you fucking 10? Like, it's just wonderful in terms of Johnno does want to do the right thing. He's been told he's grounded. He's grounded. And he's just going to go to his work, to go to his job, and that's it. He wants to do the right thing. But I guess Spanner is leading him astray. But for good reason. You know, he's going to have a good time. And he does, you can tell he kind of wants to do it, but he's a bit unsure about it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and then, you know, when he sort of gives in and just sort of succumbs to, right, fuck it, let's just have a good time here at this. And, you know, like, it's a good performance, you know, and he's still looking out for his friend. He's obviously got the hots for, what's her name?
Laura.
You know, yeah, the thing that bugs me a wee bit is how everybody calls him Wee Man all the time. You know, when this, you know, I sort of got the impression that they were all supposed to be much the same age, you know, but I don't know if they call him Wee Man just because he's weirder than everybody else, you know, like physically, or he is a little bit younger. I don't know.
I got the impression that Kat, Wendy, and Laura were like a couple of years older than
maybe
Spanner and Johnno. Yeah, I thought they were meant to be. Yeah, a couple of years at least older. In terms of, you see, like a young Johnny Lee Miller, Les from the film gives him the greatest lookalike ever. I had to pause because I was crying with laughter. My girlfriend's like, I don't get a joke. And then I showed her a photo. When And she bursts out laughing. And when he it's not Fred Savage in Flight of the Navigator. It was.
I thought when he said, "What's this? The Jakey Wonder years."
Oh no, that's brilliant as well. But no, it's when Les says to him, "What do you think, Flight of the Navigator?" And it's like, it just fucking ended me. But yes, the Jakey Wonder years was fucking brilliant as well.
I've forgotten about Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, and I just burst out laughing. I was like, "Oh my god, he really fucking does look like the kid from Flight of the Navigator." That stuck in my head. Absolute brilliant lookalike. But yeah, he goes along with it. He does grow a bit of a backbone. He backs up, sticks up for Spanner, and then of course goes and has a wonderful night. And he does, when he has to step up to it and drive, he does it and becomes the fucking hero for everyone because he's done this, and gets a wee kiss off Laura later as his reward, I guess.
Yeah, he does. He does. When you were that age, would you have done what Johnno did with the car? Would you have thought, "Nah, I'm going to be the fucking saviour and drive this car on the M8, even though all I've done is drive around the car park with my stepdad and make a right cunt of it. I'm going to do it anyway."
I don't know. I might have done. I might have done, if I'm honest.
If there were women there?
Yeah, I would have done. If I thought I could get away with it, then yeah, I would have. I did once. I didn't. I'd had a few lessons. I was a competent enough driver, but I didn't pass my test. Mm-hmm. And I remember my brother-in-law had to get my sister's car back, and it was a good like half-hour drive through Aberdeen, and he's like, "Right, I need you to give me a hand." And I drove my sister's car through Aberdeen. He drove in front of me. I drove very slowly behind him. And then we got there. And then I remember my sister going, "How did you get? Did Nicky fucking drive it?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I didn't have anyone else. And it was like a Friday, and it would have been Monday before I could have got it back. But everything was fine. But yeah, technically I did. If I got stopped, I'd have been fucked." So, yeah. So, yes. So in answer to your question, done it before. Probably do it again. Yeah, of course. You have to step up and be the hero, especially when there's young ladies involved, and that's that night. And that scene, a spoiler alert, is one of the funniest lines for me of the film, and it's Wendy, because D-Man's fucked, obviously, and can't drive, and it kind of spoils my use of swearing a war tax thing. It's just the way Wendy goes. He's fucked it. He's actually fucked it. He's fucked the whole thing up the arse. Wonderful. Anyway, so Johnno, and of course you can't speak about Johnno without speaking about Spanner, Lorn Macdonald. Spanner could be one of my favourite characters of all time. He's just absolutely wonderful. And what a haircut. As Robert describes it, I mean, look at his hair. That's a crime against his heat. It's just...
What? You aren't allowed to be hanging around here. Have you any idea what it looks like for my boss to see you fraternising with nerds like him?
Well, you don't know him, he's alright.
He's Fido Smith's wee brother, for Christ's sakes.
Aye, but he's no criminal or that.
Look at him. Look at his hairdo. I mean, that's a crime against his heat.
You feel so much emotion for Spanner. He is obviously a horrible home life with his brother Fido. You think he's never going to amount to nothing. He's got nothing going for him. And that's why he just does this and steals the money and wants to have this amazing night. This is all he's got. And especially when he finds out that Johnno's leaving. And it's just the comedy aspect of Spanner. From him being on the little motorbike and driving behind in the car is so funny. But for me, I think it's when Johnno's punching himself in the mirror and Spanner just slowly sits up like the Undertaker in the bed and starts laughing. It's just absolutely golden. And as I've said, when Laura Fraser then opens the wardrobe and he's like, "Ding dong." It's just fucking, absolute wonderful performance from Lorn Macdonald in this.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking into him just because he's got one of those faces where you're like, what have I seen him in? What have I seen him in? And it turned out I've not actually seen him in anything apart from this. But he's played Renton in a production of Trainspotting at the Citizens in Glasgow. I think the last big thing he was in was Bridgerton, which the big sort of sexy Netflix period dramedy, which is done really well. And like he has, it's not just the character of Spanner that's got great hair. Lorn Macdonald's got fucking great hair. Generally speaking.
Oh, really?
I've got hair envy. Yeah, oh, this is great hair. But you know, he's an actor, a writer, and a director. And yeah, I mean, he not to get in front of the awards, but he fucking steals the show in this.
Yeah.
You know, like when he's being like sort of silly and play fighting and playing about with Johnno, and the more serious scenes with his brother, with Fido, you know, particularly the scene in the kitchen. And it's not even so much the scene, it's and what happens to him in that scene, it's more the aftermath of it. You know, when you can tell he's sort of bubbling with this frustrated aggression.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to sort of, I guess, maybe he doesn't want to stoop to his brother's level. You know what I mean? He just wants to get the fuck out of there. His revenge on his brother is to steal his money and, you know, and kind of worry about it later. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a really, really great performance from him. Just like every time he's on the screen, you're just and I found like nothing against Cristian Ortega, because he plays Johnno really well, but some of the scenes that he's in that Lorn Macdonald isn't in, you're kind of like, okay, let's just get this done so we can get back to the Spanner show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want Spanner back on screen. The great thing is you can tell that he really cares for Johnno, because it's not that he's hanging around him because he's got no one else to hang around with. He genuinely does. Like when he's in the supermarket and he sees Colin giving Johnno shit for stacking things label facing. Yeah. You know, the next scene is he's outside telling him he's a massive bell end and he needs to tell him. And he's trying to coach him, and he really is, again, saying, what are you, 10? Again, tears rolling down my cheeks when Spanner calls in sick for Johnno. Tells him that he's dead. It's just absolutely brilliant. But
it's got a nice little payoff later on as well.
Wonderful.
With the flowers that have been sent.
Hello, Colin. Hi, it's Robert Dunlop here. Hi, how you doing? It's about Johnno. He won't be coming in today. No, it's pretty bad. He's dead. Aye, we're all pure gutted, like. Look, I'd rather not talk about it. I just wanted to... Aye. No, I'll pass that on. All right, thanks, bye. Bye.
What you did that for, you fucking psycho?
Calling you a sickie?
You just told him I was dead. Well, I can never go back there now.
Thought you were moving, wee man.
I was meant to get a transfer.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's you fucked then.
But then, obviously, he's taken care. And again, wonderful. They have a bit of a falling out, really. But then they kind of come back together. And that's a beautiful scene in the car where it effectively gives him the eckie. And it's kind of like, you don't have to take it if you don't want to. But come on, this is going to be a great night. They take it. And so funny to just break that moment when he's like, all right, I've got another one for you later on if you want to. It's like, it's a fucking brilliant line. And he obviously goes off and it's a great night. He has to take the ticket for acting eckied out his face. Like, I wonder if he's done that before, or if he just did a lot of research in terms of what it looks like, because his jaw was flying everywhere and eyes rolling. Next morning comes, he is so concerned for Johnno, looking everywhere for him, high and low, and you really get the concern for his friend. He has to find him, and which leads to the beautiful part when he rings the doorbell. And again, the funny aspect of turning round and kind of giving the thumbs up to the three girls that are stood opposite the road. Just masterful acting from Lorn. So good.
I wondered if maybe there was maybe a bit of a sort of unrequited love subtext between Spanner and Johnno. You know what I mean? Like, maybe more on Spanner's side than Johnno's side. I think with Johnno, he's just Spanner's just a really good friend to him, and although he gets him in trouble and everything else, he's his mate and he's his only friend, it seems, and he really cares about him. But like with Spanner, particularly in the scenes when they're at the rave, and he sort of gives him like quite a tender kiss on the lips at one point, and he's he keeps grabbing him and kind of pulling him in for a hug and all that sort of stuff. And then at the very end, when Laura Fraser lets him up the stairs to see Johnno, and they sort of finish up lying next to each other in the bed, and Johnno sort of gives him a hug, but he sort of keeps his hand over him when he's just sort of going to sleep. And I sort of think, is there maybe a bit more of a subtext here? Is Spanner maybe got confusing feelings about Johnno? But then when it comes to what happened next little credits scene, which I've got to say I'm not a fan of that kind of thing.
I like that. I like that kind of thing. Yeah, I do. I like to know what's happened. Yeah.
It sort of maybe burns that theory down, because it sort of suggests that after Johnno moves away, they lose touch. They bump into Glasgow 10 years later. They agree that they'll meet again next time Johnno's in town, both knowing that they never will. And I thought, well, why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? I don't really understand.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it could be that. Yeah, I quite like that element. I agree there is perhaps, there's a lot of tops off and wrestling and, hugging. I mean, in the rave scene, okay, the kiss, but then in terms of hugging and touching and stuff, come on, man. We've all been there that way.
Yeah, for sure.
I even said to my girlfriend, she was watching, and when they're talking about loving each other and stuff, and she's like, this is so nice to see two male characters like this on screen. And I was like, yeah, but that's what it's like. I remember my very, very, very close friend Greg, telling me once, I'd fucking lie down in traffic for you, man. And
I meant it. And I still mean it.
I know. And that's just the way it is when you're under the influence of chemicals and dance music, and that's just how it is. But yeah, but in the cold light of day, you mean it as well. Of course you do.
So, to be honest, I think that's what I kind of liked about that scene. About that, I don't mean that scene in the film, but that whole sort of pills and club night sort of scene that we were into for a bit, because I think, if we're being honest, before, if we would go out, there was always a little bit of pressure. Got to try and pull tonight, got to try and pull. You know what I mean? And then, and obviously, well, for most of us anyway, 9 out of 10 times, you sort of go home with a bag of chips and a Rice Krispie cake out of the all-night baker, which is not a euphemism, by the way. That's what I go home with. Maybe a bottle of Moray Cup. Whereas on a night out like that, there was no pressure to do any of that at all. But you were like with people who were like boys and girls who were all in a similar state of intoxication. And it was just a good time, like hugging people, having fucking deep and meaningful conversations with strangers when you're washing your hands in the toilet, or sometimes having a bit of a vom in the toilet when you're washing that away. You know what I mean? And, when I went to Ibiza, like I spent 2 weeks doing that, and just like having kind of chatting to girls, like on the beach afterwards, and never like being like, oh, I hope she likes me and she invites me back to her hotel when I get back to mine. Like just having like a really good chat and maybe having a bit of a cuddle and everything, then just going back to the hotel and sleeping for 14 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess that was probably part of the appeal, because like when I stopped doing that, I was kind of right back to going for a night out. Oh, I hope I pull. Hope I meet a nice girl.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Just couldn't go out and have a good night.
It is that kind of, I know what you mean. There's that kind of connection. I know in Norwich, there was I used to go out most weekends and do, go to dance things and, get very happy and, And you're right. There was a girl I used to bump into quite a lot at these things, because so you all went to the kind of the same things.
Yeah.
And, every time I saw her, we would have a cuddle and have a cheeky snog. But at the end of the night, there was never any like, do you want to come back to mine or anything? It was just like a hug and like, I'll see you next time. Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, you'd think, oh, damn it, I should have tried. But in that moment, it doesn't, it's not what it's about. It's about having this shared experience and this shared moment and just, being all lovely. And that's, I guess, what the film does so well. And it's true in terms of with Johnno and Laura, they go off, they have a little kiss, and then they come back, and then you go off with your mates again. That's exactly what it was like. And it's lovely. I think they do that really well.
Do you remember when we used to rub like a knuckle down each other's spine because one of us had read that it made us come up quicker?
I think that was me. I'm sure my mate in Norwich used to do that, and it used to work or something. And then I'd try it on you guys, and you'd be looking at me like, fucking rubbish. I've just got a sore back now. I don't think that worked.
I remember one night. I think you and I and our mutual friend were in Escobar, and we were having a lovely time. And we sort of had a bit of a 3-man huddle hug. Fucking love you boys. And then our mutual friend threw up a bit on his shoes.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Glory days.
Those were the days. One of my favourite memories of those nights, it was in Escobar, and I had bumped into a girl I went to uni with, and it just so happened we'd actually had a snog on Freshers Week at the start of first year, and then that was it. We'd never really spoken again, But then we bumped into each other, so this was in fourth year, it was there, and we had like a massive hug and spoke and fucking put the world to rights and caught up and everything was great and, we should hang out more and stuff. And then she just stopped and she went, the gay guy from Queen? And I went, what? And she goes, the gay guy from Queen. And I went, what, Freddie Mercury? And he's following me. And I was like, I think he's been dead for about 10 years. But she was convinced Freddie Mercury was following her. I never got to the bottom of that. I think I went and found you and our mutual friend again and probably laughed at him being sick on his shoes.
with a great story to tell.
Yes, the wonderful. You'll never guess this, guys. I thought it was really good, though. I love the setting in '94, and of course the way they're finding out about the rave is this pirate radio station that they're listening to, and I guess that's the way raves were organised back in the day. Like nowadays, it'd be over Instagram or TikTok more likely, but back in the day there was no mobile phones. I mean, well, Fido has one, but it's because he's a drug dealer. But it was all done over radio or word of mouth or flyers or stuff. And I think that's what at simpler times, and it's lovely. And I do like the way in terms of the DJ that D-Man. I think it's very clever the way he's built up over the course of the film, and then the reveal of the character I think is very well done, especially Spanner. Like, are you the cunt from the radio? And it's I thought it was very well done. And the D-Man is just a bit of a, sad individual, really, in terms of this guy.
I liked him better when he was a disembodied voice, D-Man. Once he'd been on screen for a little while, he started to get in my tits a bit. Like the whole sort of soapbox bashing and, this is like it's us against the system. There's more of us than there is of them. And we all went and all this. And I'm like, I don't know if it was maybe like a different actor, maybe potentially. He just, because he's like Ross Mann who plays D-Man, like no harm to him, but he's pretty softly spoken. You know what I mean? Like especially compared to the other characters.
Yeah.
The characters that he is on screen with, because Spanner's got quite an accent, so do the girls, especially Wendy, who plays Spanner's cousin, and the scenes with Les, the drug dealer that's going out with Laura and all that, or that, what do they call him? That manky old pedo.
I think it's manky pedo cunt.
I think it gets called a manky old pedo later. I know that's it's Johnno that refers to him as a manky old pedo when he's talking to Laura about him outside the warehouse. Which made me laugh. He comes across a wee bit like what Mark Wahlberg's character in The Departed would refer to as a lace curtain motherfucker. He's sort of trying to slum it a bit with the rough kids, you know, whereas he doesn't really come from that environment.
No, not at all. You can tell because they take the piss out of him. You know, D-man, his name's Derek. And they do take the piss out of him because you do get the impression he is this kind of posh kid that is slumming it and trying to fight the system and, you know, trying to save the rave and stuff like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's just a bit of a sad individual, really.
Yeah, indeed. But, you know, it's a bit... He's, I suppose maybe he is, if that's by design, then maybe I've been a bit unfair towards him. Then maybe he's played that part perfectly. And the thing about the whole cast is, ironically, with the exception of Cristian Ortega, who is by no means like a one and done, you know, he's in quite a few things. But the rest of the cast, they've all got like quite long IMDb's. I mean, I think most of the guys that are in it have appeared in Outlander at some point, you know, and it made me think I'm going to have to pick Outlander at some point, but I really don't have 12 hours to devote to Outlander. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure the first series is probably 12 hours or 12 episodes. I don't have enough time. And I've watched the first episode about 3 times because my wife and I have tried to get into it and sort of failed. Even though I like a lot of the cast that's in Outlander, I do like a lot of the cast. But anyway, but yeah, most of these guys and girls have been Outlander at some point, and you know, they're kind of getting on with like really promising careers, not just in Scotland, but internationally.
I mean, yeah, most recently, you know, to talk about the police element that we have in the film, of course, Brian Ferguson playing Robert. Most recently, he was seen as Rebus's brother in the latest adaptation of Rebus. I wondered about Robert. He actually seems like a nice character. In the beginning, you're kind of looking out for Johnno, and
exactly the same thing down.
I'm unsure about him, to be honest. He seems like he's really looking after Johnno. He wants him to be okay, and it's not just because he's with his mum. I think he does genuinely kind of want that. And okay, you know, he comes across. He tries to give him like the glass of champagne. Johnno obviously knocks it back in one, but I wonder. If, okay, the next time really you see him is when he's at the rave and he's got all his riot gear on and he does batter the hell out of a kid. He realises it's Johnno. Yeah. Now, he didn't know it was Johnno, but that still doesn't excuse his actions of doing that. He obviously feels bad when he realises it's Johnno, but would he have felt bad if it was some other kid? So I genuinely don't know how we're meant to feel about Robert. Obviously, he gets dinghied at the end, but... yeah. I don't know, was he a nice guy? Was it an act? Was he just, I mean, he's just doing his job, you could say, but he's not, you know, because he is using excessive force. But I don't know. What are we meant to think about Robert?
I think we're supposed to think about Robert is that he's sort of torn between, maybe not torn between, but he wants to have a successful career in the police. You know what I mean? He wants to have that. I think he's in love with Alison, played by Laura Fraser, who's Johnno's mum. You know, I think he genuinely does care about Johnno and, you know, and wants him to get on well and have a good life and everything else. But I think also he allows himself to be caught up in the... because when the police are getting ready to go and break up the party, there's a bit of a sort of, it's a bit like when the guys are getting ready to go to the party. You know what I mean? They're like, right, come on. The guy, there's a policeman, is it PC Moncrief, the guy with the beard, he's like, right, come on, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, he's fired up, he's ready to get tore in. Whereas they know they're going to break up a party. They know that it's not a riot they're going to break up. You know what I mean? So the likelihood is they don't really need their batons and their helmets and their riot shields.
Yeah.
But they want to go and be aggressive and break it up. And, you know, I think his guilt comes from he's allowed himself to be swept up in that a little bit, and it's led him to batter like this kid who was moving away from him anyway. You know what I mean? Who wasn't threatening him, that he's got, and then I think his guilt's extended by the way that he knows that Johnno knows it was him. But to be fair to Johnno doesn't tell his mum that Robert battered him. But the fact that it's been the police has been enough for Alison, because she understands that, you know, Robert's devoted to his career here, you know? So, if the police can do this to my son, I don't want to be with somebody who could do that potentially to a boy my son's age or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's never really established if Alison finds out that Robert was the one that's kind of sent Johnno fucking black and blue. But that scene, like, you really feel it, you know, when the baton's raining down on Johnno's back. You really, you know, they don't spare you, yet you really feel it.
No.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess he is, of course, under pressure by his sergeant, wonderfully played by Stephen McCall, just in a quick
you'll miss
role.
it.
Yeah. Nice little role for Stephen McCall. Good Swally favourite, but yeah, it was nice to see him there in a bit of an elder statesman role there.
Yeah, the moment that I thought that, you know, it's quite arty, but as I'm sure regular listeners know, I'm kind of there for that. Just when I felt that the rave scene was going on a bit too long, they start to bring a bit of colour. Yeah, into the and obviously the suggestion is that the only colour in these characters' lives are when they're with the music and they're dancing and they're together and everything. Which I like that. I wasn't sure why they were kind of putting images in of like the Ravenscraig steelworks being demolished and sort of automated sort of factories and things. I'm like, well, are you trying to say that 1994 represents the end of a particular way of working class life, you know, and it's coming to an end? Because I'm pretty sure that Ravenscraig was demolished in the 1980s. I don't think it... I mean, I could be wrong. If I am wrong, then it's fucking really clever. It's really good. But if I'm not, let's give a wee Google here. Ravenscraig.
Steelworks closed in 1992.
Okay, so not far out. So it was earlier than 1994. That's kind of picking hairs, I suppose. But I just thought, because it doesn't really... The film doesn't feel like a lot like a social commentary, really. You know, it feels more of a story about friendship and a particular time in social history and a particular scene. It doesn't really feel like the director and the writer are trying to say some profound things about, you know, the working class or communities or that kind of thing. To me, anyway.
No, I don't think so. I think that I didn't get anything of that element. It was just about the kind of rave culture and everything. But I wonder if those images were to almost encompass the passing of time of the rave scene, because that would take into account and to maybe show how things are changing or how things had changed. Could be a possible way. I did like a couple of things, because one, I mean, there's not really any romance element. Obviously, there's Johnno with Laura. They have a little bit of a kiss, but that's kind of it, and then it's done. I did really like, because obviously you wonder, and I did fear that, is this going to go down the route that someone's going to die from drugs at the rave? Because that would have been an easy thing to do in a bit of a cliche. I'm glad everyone got out unscathed. What I also liked was that you did have a bit of a fear element of this. It does mix anxiety and fear very well. I think, you know, one example is, of course, when D-Man's driving and the acid kicks in and you're kind of fearful for the group. But what I also liked was when they're at the rave and they're having a great time, you have this element of fear of, one, the police coming, but two, Fido's coming to kill Spanner. And I thought that was really well done in terms of, because you are fearful of it. And of course, that's the thing, Johnno sees Fido before sees the police. And of course, he doesn't see Spanner. But I also like the fact that they kind of hinted at, and it's never concluded, but that maybe Fido's not going to kill Spanner and kick the absolute shite out of him. Because when he throws Les out the car at the end and he says, "What are we doing?" Then you do kind of think, he's going to go, he's probably still going to kick the shit out of him, but he's not going to kill him. He's going to maybe go slightly easy on Spanner for this. I don't know, you know? It's odd.
I agree. I like that touch. There's that sort of thing of, like, you know, he's my fucking brother. You know, realistically, what am I going to do when I catch him? You know, when I find him? Like, give him a bit of a doing, but, you know, make him get the money back somehow, whatever. But, you know, and because like, there's a little bit of a sort of resolution for Fido in the end credits when they say that he spent 6 years in Barrel for assaulting a policeman, and now he lives in Fort William and volunteers at a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a sort of redemption, a hint at redemption there for him. So yeah, I liked, again, it's not a sort of cliche. And it's interesting actually, because I suppose there might be a bit of a tendency amongst critics of a certain age to kind of stack this film against human traffic. And I saw a clip of Danny Dyer talking about human traffic just the other week. And he said, you know, I'm not going to do his voice. I'm sure everybody knows what Danny Dyer sounds like. But he said that they shot the film 2 years before it was released. He said they had a really hard time getting it released because there's obviously a lot of drug taking in the film. He said, but the expectation was, well, you can have characters taking drugs, but there needs to be some kind of moral lesson. So there needs to be some terrible consequence of somebody taking drugs. And like in human traffic, he said, you know, the sort of consequences are, the sort of come down is, oh, that was terrible, I'm never doing it again. But we all know we're doing it again next weekend. Yeah. You know what I mean? He said, so, but at that time, which would have been, when the human traffic, about 1999 or something, but at that time, the kind of mid-90s, there was this expectation, well, you know, Trainspotting shows the terrible fucking consequences of drug addiction and taking drugs. But it also cheekily shows what a good night out you can have on a couple of pills in London, as long as you don't end up in the front seat of a car with a person who you thought was a lady. But you know, but this film again, it's you know, like it's not sort of a sort of chest beating drugs are bad message. It's, you know, they actually, the drugs are, it's just like a pill each, and then a bit of dancing and cuddling and sweating and stuff like that. It's not really, the film focuses on the friendship between Johnno and Spanner. It's a story about friendship and possible, you know, potential, maybe unrequited love, maybe, and the scene and the time in history, you know. I don't think it's not a drug film or... No, it's definitely not. I would say it's not, there's no real message in terms of hitting you over the head with anything of drugs are bad or shouldn't do. There's no real consequences. Everyone survives unscathed, so to speak. So no, I don't think there is anything, a message about that or anything. It's just about encapsulating a good time that you have with your friends and just the love that you can share memories and share experiences with everyone. Yeah. Yep. So, no, look, I think if... do you have anything else you want to mention about the film before we go into the awards? I mean, the only thing to mention, of course, I mean, you've come this far in the review, obviously, folks, so you should know by now, but released pretty much just a month apart from this was a 2019 film called Beats, which was a Netflix film, which is set around the hip-hop scene in Chicago. Obviously, not this film, Beats, which is black and white set in Scotland. But I did think that led to a bit of confusion for some people maybe trying to find it. No, I don't really have. I mean, I absolutely loved the film. I thought it was great. I think this is, if I'd watched this when I was like 15 or something, this would be the type of film I'd stick on heavy rotation. Like, it would be 100%. Like, you know, like Go or, you know, something like that, or probably Human Traffic, you know, laterally. It would be something I would watch a lot and just kind of dip in and out of or have on in the background while I was playing Football Manager. But it's definitely a film I would have watched a lot. And I'm really glad I watched it, and I will watch it again soon, I'm sure, because I thought it was great. Yeah. And you can find it on Dailymotion. If you put in Beats 2019, you will scroll through 4 or 5 other things before you find it, but it's there. It's got Italian subtitles, but apart from that, it's a perfect version of the film. It is, yeah. I didn't watch that version, unfortunately. I actually rented it on Amazon Prime. I was good this time. I was very good. Yeah, I did rent it, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, some of our listeners might have spent all their money on Easter eggs because it's that time of the year. So, okay, so let's put beats through our coveted Swally Awards. So our first award, as always, is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. But as the characters are all underage, I guess, no pubs.
No, there's no pubs at all. I mean, the closest you get is they do get a carry out and walk down the street, but that's it. There's no pubs unless you count the little car park, kind of, or it's like an abandoned warehouse where they all meet and have their carry out, but nope, no pubs.
Yep. Next award then, patron saint of the podcast, James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. I mean, there's a fairly clear winner here, even though he's only in the film for maybe 20 seconds. It's got to be Stephen McCall.
Yes, I put Stephen McCall because he is the clear winner. If we weren't counting him because he has just got a very small role, then Laura Fraser would be my backup. Yeah. But yeah, I went with McCall, of course, because he's in everything. Yeah.
Next then, the Jake McQuillan Yartizu Award. So one or two options here. Which one did you pick?
I did go with Les getting smacked with a lava lamp. I thought that was a very fitting, especially because it's Laura that smacks him with it, and I thought that was very good.
I like that scene. I chose, though, when Fido invites Spanner to punch him, and he does. And it feels, and like, again, a little bit like the scene. I mean, it's not a violent film by any stretch, although there are a couple of sort of rough and tumble moments. But I don't know if it's the sound effects that they use, but they do. It does feel, it's not like a whoosh, sort of kung fu film. It does feel like a really authentic sort of. So I really kind of felt it a bit when when Spanner, and also when Spanner punches Les as well. The sound before the whole lava lamp bit, it all sounded quite real.
It does show what a psycho Fido is, that he invites Spanner to punch him. Spanner punches him, and Fido's kind of like, "Good lads, like, good on you." But then when Spanner accuses him of showing off, he decides to hold his face in front of an electric hob that he switched on. Like, you're like, okay, is there some boundaries here? What's going on?
Okay, what are the rules? Next award then is the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing, which I found very difficult to isolate one here. What did you go for?
I think there's 36 uses of the C word in this film, which is pretty good. I did like, are you that cunt on the radio? The cunt off the radio. Yes, I am that cunt. But I do have to give it to the line that I mentioned earlier when Wendy says he's fucked it. He's actually fucked it. He's fucked the whole thing up the arse.
I mean, that's the clear winner. I did like, I think it might be the first use of the C word when Spanner is first trying to persuade Johnno to go to the rave, and he's like, revolt, you cunt. Next then would usually be the Ewan McGregor Award for being in for Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. There is no nudity in this film. I don't, unless there's a moment I missed.
No.
Next, archetypal Scottish moment.
Well, what did you go for this?
I struggled to sort of find a moment. There was just a lot of phrases.
Yeah.
Particularly when they're in the car and they're trying, after D-Man has been judged unfit to drive by the rest of the group, and they're asking Spanner, can you drive? And he's like, no, I can go a motorbike. But, and it's such a Scottish expression. I can go, can you go a motorbike? I can go a motorbike. I can go a push bike, but I can't go a motorbike. It's such a such a Scottish expression. What did you go for?
There were so many lines, like you say, Spanner's got a few that I was like, okay, that's good. And then the moment I went for it, it's actually the second last song of the film. I've kind of cheated maybe a little bit. The second last track is kind of a dance track, obviously. And it's by a Scottish composer and DJ called Hudson Mohawk. And the title of the track is Scud Books.
Excellent.
So when I saw that, I thought, I'm having that. Scud Books. That's the archetypal Scottish moment. A great name for a song.
Very good indeed. And then the next and final award, and I think it's probably quite clear to the listeners who have both chosen for this, but the Big Tam Awards, the Sean Connery Awards, who wins the beats for you?
Yeah, definitely Lorn Macdonald as Spanner. He's just such a good character, so funny, but not just a one-dimensional character either. He really has empathy. You feel really sorry for him when he's sitting eating he just wants to eat his Cocoa Pops. And there's no milk, and then Fido spits in his Cocoa Pops, and
it's like, oh, I fucking love Cocoa Pops. I'm thinking, I love Cocoa Pops as well, but my wife won't buy them.
There's quite a few points where he says something that breaks the tension, or says a funny line, and as I say, his deed is just he's so good. He's really like, and perhaps in maybe a stealthy way, or perhaps in a really overt way, he's really like the heart of the film. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he really is. He really is, and you really feel for him, and you wonder, because that's the thing, we don't really know what happened to him after. We know 10 years later he bumps into Johnno in Glasgow, but how's he doing? And we don't know, but he is. He's the complete heart of the film, and wonderful character, and just Lorn Macdonald, great performance, really loved it.
It'd be interesting to check. It'd be interesting if they did a film sort of checking back in the Spanner, and but like a completely different film. You know what I mean? Same character, but like just him kind of growing up and making his way. Because the thing is about the way he plays him, you never get the feeling that. Well, I certainly never got the feeling that once Johnno goes off to modern suburbia, that Spanner's going to be off the rails and fucked. Like you never get that impression from the character. You get the impression that he's gonna be heartbroken to not see his best mate all the time, but there's never a feeling that, well, he's all that Spanner's got. Even though we don't see a great deal more of what Spanner has, you never get the you never get the feeling that that Johnno is all that Spanner's got, and that he's smart enough and essentially a good guy, really, that you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think he'd be okay.
Because I think the fact that he's not out dealing for his brother when he could be, and it's never suggested whether his brother's never asked him or Spanner's just has refused to do it. It's left a bit ambiguous. But it'd be interesting to catch up with Spanner and see what he's up to.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, great character, and a wonderful film. So that is the 2019 film Beats.
You won't find another film with a more gratuitous use of the word manky, which is a great word.
So Beats was my choice, Greg. So it's going to be your choice of what we're going to be talking about on the next episode of the Culture Swally. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about?
Well, since it's impossible to have too much Laura Fraser in your life, I've gone for another Laura Fraser. It's a TV miniseries this time, made by the BBC in 2016, a 4-parter, directed by Jamie Douglas, starring Juliet Stevenson, big favourite of yours, Joanna Vanderham, Laura Fraser, Joe Dempsey, John Lynch and Julie Graham, One of Us. A small Scottish community is left devastated when a young couple are brutally murdered when they return from their honeymoon. So it's a 4-parter. I've told you where you can find it before we started recording. It was on Netflix. Netflix had it on there, so you might, if you're looking for it, listeners, you might find it under a different name. The different name is Retribution.
Okay, great. I'm just having a look at the cast, because I'd never heard of this, and it has got an incredible, like Gary Lewis is in it, Cristian Ortega's in it as well.
Yeah, well, that's how I came across it.
Yeah, and Kate Dickie, Adrian Edmondson as well. Fantastic.
Making his Swally debut.
Yes, certainly will be. Okay, One of Us. I will look forward to watching that on the next episode of the Swally. Thank you very much, Greg. All right, well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you'd like us to cover, any news stories you've seen, or if you just want to drop us a line and say hello, please feel free. You can follow us on Insta at cultureswallypod. We're on the cesspit known as X at SwallyPod, and we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com. which has got links to all our episodes. I think we're up to nearly 140 episodes at this stage.
This is 124. This one.
Oh, nearly 130 episodes at this stage. There's links to all of them on the website, plus some articles and blog posts about Scottish media. Come and check us out.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you very much, Craig. Are you off to do anything exciting this evening?
I'm off to seriously considering. I think there's a bag of oven chips in the freezer. I'm seriously considering flinging a handful into the air fryer and having myself a chip butty before I go to bed.
Oh, lovely. That sounds good. That sounds very nice. I've no idea. I haven't got anything in for dinner. I need to go and get something and I don't know what to have. But yeah, that's probably going to be something quite unhealthy actually after our conversation.
Good for you. You only live once.
Exactly. I'd quite like to live for a slightly longer time and have something healthy, but never mind. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Great. What's up with him?
He's tripping. He's tripping his tits off. Can either of you cunts drive?
He's fucked it. He's actually just fucked the whole thing up the arse.